Hey guys, welcome back to the garden. My name's Em. Today we're going to talk about perennials. You might see my chickens in the background. They like to go where I go. If I'm working on a project, they want to work on the project. It doesn't always work out. Sometimes they try to attack my ring or eat the things I'm trying to plant. I have to cover a lot of areas with some sort of protective thing because they want to eat anything that I grow. So, perennials. Here we are. I planted this artichoke bed, this artichoke area. There's a few plants. The chickens like to eat the lower leaves, but there's a few very prominent artichoke plants here. And they come back every year. They make a lot of heads of artichokes, and we try to cook and eat them. Sometimes we don't get to it, so they just become big, beautiful purple heads, flower heads, and the bees love them. So many bees just go and rub up in there and do their pollinating thing. Hey, Poppy! Poppy! So it comes back every year, which is awesome. Right next to it is a few-year-old lemon tree. It has more flowers on it than it's ever had this year. I'm kind of worried about it. Some people say to have less flowers so that you actually get some prominent, good-sized fruit instead of a bunch of little sad babies. It's really hard for me to do the pruning, and it's hard for me to let it be, because I'm afraid that there won't be any fruit if I take off any of the flowers. But I also know that if you have too many crowded things, they won't really be as prosperous. So that's a problem. I have a kumquat tree right here in its pot still from a year or two ago. It hasn't put on fruit since I bought it, so I'm probably going to have to buy a companion tree to go with it so that they pollinate each other, because who knew? It says it recommends to grow 3 together. It's true. I also have a cherry tree that has yet to put on any flowers, so it didn't say, or I didn't read that it needed a companion. I'm pretty sure it does. It hasn't put on cherries at all. It's just hard to find another spot to put a companion. I could put one up in the upper area over here for another cherry tree. It's hard to really prune the area of that upper level because it's only a foot from the wall. We used to have really nice rhubarb plants that would come back every year, but the sprinkler system got a little botched, and so from not being watered regularly, they did not make it. So there are things that are perennial, but only if you water them. I have learned the hard way many a times to find out that, hey, if you don't water a tree or a raspberry bush during the winter, it might not survive for the next season. It's a hard lesson to learn. Things aren't so obvious to me. I once planted a whole ball of garlic, not knowing you gotta separate the cloves and separate them. It's a bummer, but that was a learning lesson for me. Some things aren't so obvious, and so that's why we talk to each other and we tell each other about the things we did wrong. I'm sad that there's no rhubarb anymore. We tried buying some rhubarb plants last year, but the chickens found them. And I guess I didn't protect it well enough. They were kind of sneaky, and it wasn't really an industrious way to protect them, so that was sad for rhubarb, because my dad loves rhubarb pie. He's from the East Coast, and he's all about them rhubarb pies. We have a lot of fruit trees. We mostly have very prominent apricot trees that we planted years ago that finally perked up once I started adding things to the soil up here and watering regularly, and so they really took off. I actually trimmed them recently, even though I should have done it over the winter, but I just didn't get around to much gardening during the winter. There's just a bunch of things that get in the way, and having like if you're a little sad during the winter, it's hard to really choose what hobbies you're going to pursue. So I love to plant things for the pollinators. I try to get lavender, and I try to plant wildflower mixes, and that's what that yellow bush is from, a wildflower mix from last year that just planted itself there. Here's my very sad cherry tree. And there's my chicken yelling at me. I don't know why. So the thing is, if you start, you will have more things to do for next year. Like, I planted some potatoes here months ago, and they grew plants just like this, but the chickens got into it, demolished the plants, so I had to pick the little tiny potatoes. And because I had to pick them, I have little seed potatoes now to grow soon when they start getting their little eyes on there. So these are from potatoes that just start getting eyes and start growing from in the house. So there's always something to plant. I have garlic right next to it that are garlic from the year before, and they were grown from garlic from the year before that. I don't really use a lot of garlic, so that's why I always have more garlic to plant. It really makes a difference just to keep growing things, and they come back. It's a bummer when your plants don't always work out. I have some nice herbs here that do well. These are kind of invasive, so I kept them in a bit of a pot. Well, a bucket. It was meant for like water, but I drilled holes in it to keep these plants from spreading too much. But they would be a pretty if they grew more, maybe on the back fence. So here's my garlic. These look a little different. These look a little weird to me. This one is actually an elephant garlic I got from the Baker Creek Heirloom Seed Expo. I only got one. I had very little funds at the time, so I got one, and I was super excited to try growing it this year. Hopefully disease and rust doesn't take them before I get one. I'm tempted to save it for next year, to plant those cloves next year. It's like either you save it and hope it survives and dries up and you can plant it next year, or you use it. And hopefully no cats take out my garlic that's drying in the house once I start drying it. My cat likes to attack everything. It's hard to preserve things. So the thing about asparagus is that it comes back and it gets stronger as you let it exist in your garden. It's just, I recently moved my asparagus from the corner of my garden where I thought it was going to stay forever. My dad wanted to do something in that corner, has yet to do it. Maybe he's changing his mind, hopefully. But I moved my asparagus just in case to this bed next to here, and I made sure that I could see it from my window so that perhaps we will eat asparagus more and not let them go to like blooming. Here's one you could see under there. Hopefully the chickens don't get to this. This is a bit dangerous section. They already got to it a bit. Here's another lavender bush that I planted maybe a year or two ago. It's actually started picking up and getting happy. It's very exciting. It's just it wasn't getting watered too well last year. There's the chickens doing their thing. It's really nice to have things that come back every year, even if you don't do much for it. Like the apricot trees are very happy. I just trimmed some of the tops off, even though it's a bit late in the season to do that, because I don't want them to get too tall because I'm very short, and it's just good custom to trim your fruit trees so that you can reach the fruit more so than them getting giant and tall. But you never know. It's okay if something gets out of hand for a while. Just like I said, things need to be watered during the winter. This little tree is getting some green on it because I watered it today and recently, but it looked pretty dead. It's supposed to be a pomegranate? No. Grapefruit. It's supposed to be a grapefruit tree that we got last year, and it was so happy last year. It even had one little fruit because it's like, hey, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it. But I didn't water it this winter. Oops. And same issue. If you don't water something, it could die. We have this little lime tree that's finally perking up. It was neglected for many years without being watered, and finally I got a hose long enough to reach it. There's so many things that can go so long without being watered, without really knowing that you need to do things a certain way. This tree actually gets way better apricot fruiting than this bigger, bushier one that has more green stuff. I think because it focuses on foliage, because it gets all the nutrients from the garden beds, and this one doesn't, so it can just focus on fruit. And it's where the chickens really hung out for a long time, so perhaps the fertilizing concept worked differently and better. Here's another plant that planted itself from a wildflower mix, or just seeds that were left there. I like to just willy-nilly sow seeds sometimes. Who knows? You might see some big greenish leaves over there next to the board. That is borage from a plant that was there a few years ago, and I think because of all the rain, things are coming that I maybe put seeds out for last year, or that had just seeds out from the plant before, and they're finally taking off because we had a lot of rain this past year, which is very exciting. So this is the view of my pathway. It hasn't been tended to in a while because I took a break from doing much of anything with gardening. It's hard to be a little sad during certain times. So you might see long grass in places, lots of long grass. Trash. Here's some, excuse me, Poppy! There's lots of branches that I just trimmed perhaps a few days ago. But you can see perhaps some fruit in the tree, so that's very exciting. Hopefully I didn't knock too many of those off. I was planting potatoes over there earlier, and I knocked one little apricot baby, and I was very sad about it. So no matter the state of your garden, with perennials you still might get at least one thing. You never know, because if you establish something, it might be able to live through the dark times when we don't water. Excuse me, Poppy! Poppy! Let's look at this corner one more time. I planted a lavender bush over here. I have at least 3 in this main garden, and it's right next to this rosemary. The rosemary is doing so well, even though it's a little crowded. We have a really lovely rosemary bush in the front yard, right next to our lemon tree where the bees are having a great time. So even if we get small fruit because we have too many flowers, at least the bees are having a great time. And let me tell you, at night, the lemon tree is amazing. I can smell it from my front porch, and it's so beautiful, right next to our artichokes. So it's a very loud and busy day in the front yard. There's a lemonade stand and a guy doing wood nail gunning, cars, people parking, but here we are. We're looking at the Perennial garden. I like to call it the front yard cottage garden because it's in my front yard. I put a bunch of gnomes here. So this front yard is actually different than what we usually do. Back when I had money, I used to buy a bunch of mulch, and I used to rototill and mulch the whole yard with like brownish mulch. In the backyard, it used to be red mulch. Now, I am letting things grow where things grew last year and the year before. So I always love a native flower mix for your area. I live in California and we get California poppies, and these poppies are from years ago, and they just keep growing again and bringing themselves back every year. I think we're going to get a lot more this year though, because I haven't disturbed the soil like I used to, and the birds from last year really scattered all the seeds of our sunflowers, and so we're going to have like a sunflower city this year. I actually really like how I didn't disturb the soil because there's so many things that are coming back this year because it rained so much. Like I had marigolds flowering in that little circle where our maple tree is, and there's so many little babies in the circle and around it that I actually transplanted some of them near the fence. It's very exciting to see how everything is coming back. We love clover here. We had a lot of crimson clover and we got a variety pack this year. So we have clover coming back from last year, the year before, but we also recently scattered some and watered them, and rain came to really let them sprout. So hopefully we see a bouquet of colors this year. It's a little difficult for my dad not to get the weed whacker out, but he doesn't know what is grass and what are plants that don't have their flowers yet. He wants to do like the edge of the yard, but I'm like, no, that's where the California poppies are. So I'm trying to hand weed around things and not pull out the flowering things, because it's going to be so beautiful. It to the untrained eye, it could look like a wild, some people call that a negative word, but a wild, ungroomed yard. But really, it's organic because we don't use any sort of pesticides, because what's the point? I don't want to poison my friends. I don't want to poison the animals. I don't want to poison our bugs. I've been seeing ladybugs the past few weeks, and it's so exciting to see them back in the garden. And we don't really even use fertilizer. I use like a rose fertilizer, and I buy dirt with some fertilizer in it, but it's been a while since I've had money to buy dirt in general. So I'm glad when I did have some money to spare for gardening, I really worked on adding nutrient-rich soil to the yard, as well as the mulch that has broken down over time. It's not all broken down, but over time, the past few years, it's been mulched. And so it's really adding to the quality of our soil. We have a really clay-based soil in our area, and it's really dense. We used to have this giant, like the trunk was as big as that circle for that maple tree. We replaced our giant sequoia tree with a tiny maple because the sycamore, different big tree. The sycamore tree was getting into the roots were getting into our plumbing and lifting our house and just breaking the foundation. So it was really sad because my family kind of bought this house with the love of the tree. So it's very sad, but the roots are like giant arms under the ground. One day they will decompose and break up, but it's going to be a while. So there's certain parts of the yard that are really hard to dig because of the inner workings of the root system. There's like, near that side of the fence, it's like hard as a rock. And I wonder this year if there is a difference with how strong it's basically like giant tree branches under the soil. So one day they will break down. So it's been hard to plant things. It was really hard just to plant some rose bushes. And the thing is about plants that come back every year, like roses, they only come back if you water them. So I had many rose bushes that didn't make it from not being watered appropriately or enough, but the ones that did survive are really strong now. I have learned my lesson, but I will make the same mistake again. Things that are strong will survive, but when it's grown in that same place many times, it gets stronger. Like all of these flowers that are born from the plants we grew last year, and those ones were grown from the year before that, and maybe even before that, they are more likely to survive without being watered so regularly. So just like I said, in the winter, I don't really water much. And that's not so good for a lot of things. But when it gets really hot, I really try to water. And when things are growing their flower heads and their fruit, I really try to water. You know, when you get excited about growing season. And the things that don't get watered die, or they show their resilience because they've been planted in that same place that has a lot of sun year after year. That's what's lovely about plants that volunteer there. That's basically what the yard is this year. It's stuff that is volunteered, or things that have flowered or sprouted from seeds that I planted maybe last year that just didn't get watered much, or didn't have all the rain we had this year to really get excited, you know, to start being excited and growing themselves. We have a lot of nasturtium along the fence that I planted seeds of last year, and they're all flowering, budding now. Soon they'll flower. Soon they'll be big and bushy, and I've been poking them through the little rungs of the fence, and that's very exciting because you don't really see a lot of yards like this in general on my street. On my street, most people do that sterile grass thing that people like. We have crabgrass. I've been trying to get rid of it. I think we've done a good job so far. There's not that much crabgrass. There's more clover now. There's a lot of this long grass that comes in like clumps that I'm trying to dig up, perhaps. So we'll see. But the thing is, there are people who are trying to do like less water yards with succulents. Blech, I don't like succulents. Or rock gardens, or different types of mulch that, you know, we did a lot of mulching. So by doing mulch, that was our way of fixing our soil and actually mending the soil and getting away from watering, because we never really watered enough before anyway, so our grass never was luscious and on a schedule like so many other people's grass is. So the pure grass setup that people had and have a culture and custom to wasn't really for us anyways. It would just be crabgrass that would grow, and my dad would lawnmower it so it would look like grass. Well, it is grass. It's just, I don't like it. It's ugly. So the thing is, we're basically doing the low water need necessity by growing things that come back every year and become stronger as they grow in that spot year after year. Because we're in California, and we used to be in a drought, and we were in drought up until recently. So we've gotten a lot more water lately. Oh no, a chicken is running. Hey! Oh no, they found me! They like to sprint down the hill to find me. Hopefully they don't eat what I wanted. Hello. Oh, Poppy's coming too. We built the fence so that our old geriatric doggie could be in the front yard and not wander off. She always loves the front yard, and she used to just do what she wanted and not go too far. But now she's a little different. So that's the nice thing about not using pesticide or anything, that the chickens in the garden can be happy, as well as the gophers that I don't really like, but they're at least fixing our compacted soil issue. And our cat, Biscotti, he's very big. He's born from a tuxedo mom cat and a giant orange, like tomcat. They were from the streets, and I adopted him. It took a long time to win over his trust and love, but I finally got it, and now he deals with our pest control issue organically. We have gophers, and he has gotten a gopher once. But right now I'm just letting the gophers be and seeing if Biscotti gets them. And we'll see how it goes. Hey, Poppy. Yeah, Poppy was always the alpha. She hasn't been as healthy as she used to be, so the black chicken has been taking over, being bossy and yelling at us for snacks, which is all good. Everyone has their time. Are you pooping? Her butt really gets stuff all over it, like poop, and it gets hard, and I have to pull out those little butt feathers. My veterinarian says it's the only way to keep her butt clean and for fresh feathers to really pop out. So my only hope is that they don't eat the things I want. It's less difficult with the front yard because there's so many things, but the backyard garden is always a risk for them to be back there, that I have to cover the areas that I want to keep safe because they annihilate places. I get really sad. But, they're just doing their job, getting all the grubs out of the soil and eating things. They're older chickens. I adopted them once they were past 2 years or 3 years. Like 2 years and under is the prime time for egg laying, but I've never needed that many eggs to begin with. Basically, only the brown chicken now is laying an egg every day, but she's always been very, very consistent. And Poppy hasn't been laying eggs in many years because she's had some issues, and so we don't need that many eggs. And they're mostly for friendship. And I always liked the organic concept of having a full circle like ecosystem where you get eggs from the chickens, you feed the chicken scraps from the yard and the things you plant and the things you cook, and then you get eggs again, and then they poop and their bedding starts decomposing, and you put that in the compost, and then the compost feeds the garden, and the garden feeds you and the chickens, and I just love the full circle concept. So you might be able to see our red crimson clover from last year sprouting, and there's sweet alyssum. Hey. We also have many dandelion fluffy heads to blow. I like dandelions. They're good for the bees when it's winter and there's not much to eat. And you can also make dandelion tea, which I have yet to try. Oh, a box. I just noticed. Weird. So, thank you for watching our perennial video. There will be more videos to come. Sorry, I've been a bit sick, and I'm taking a break from being sick by coming out here and talking to you guys. Oh, my chicken's coming. Where are you going? Excuse you. They like to be where I am, or where the party is, so they say. So thanks for popping in. My name is Em, and see you next time.